everyone. Welcome back to Main Street Living. It is finally that time of year. It's wonderful out. Spring, flowers, sunshine, and Quincy's favorite, weddings.
Oh, cute. Yes, lots of weddings. And if you're planning a wedding or even planning to attend a wedding this year, Dustin Sitar with the Grooms Club has some tips to make it easier. Welcome to Main Street Living.
Excited to be here. Thank you.
Hey there, Dustin. Apparently, I did not know I'm a fan of weddings. I mean, I've only done it one time. Look, the most important information we find online about weddings is focused on the bride, obviously, right? So, what are some of the things that grooms should keep in mind as they are planning for their wedding?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think starting out, it's really important for the groom to realize that this is his wedding as well. And so, really, by starting with communication, like, what do you want to get out of your wedding? And how can you be part of it in significant ways? This goes a long ways in sort of two directions. One, it makes you part of it with the bride, and it also kind of gets you, in the good graces, because you're leaning in and taking part of it. So I think, that's the number one thing, is realize this is sort of a partnership that's starting out. So take part in the wedding process.
This is so nice. And I'm sure there's a lot of grooms out there who would like to take part. Now, my husband didn't want any part of it. I did all the planning. But
That's
for
usually how I do it.
bridesmaids and groomsmen, I'm sure there's some groomsmen out there as well who would like to help out. And there's tons of info for bridesmaids. But what advice would you share for groomsmen who really want to be part of the wedding and engagement events and even some of the planning?
Yeah, I say, groomsmen definitely have responsibilities during the wedding, and so making sure you understand your
Mm,
responsibilities are a great way. You're not there just to party and have a good time.
right.
You're there to be part of the process. And with that, I think groomsmen struggle with this more than bridesmaids. Be on time, be respectful of the
Yes.
process, because there's going to be a lot of people that you are a supporting character of, and so making sure you're doing that is really a big deal. And for every event, make sure you dress appropriately. It's not a time for this the break out the tank tops, even though there wasn't an official outfit for maybe the rehearsal dinner. Make sure you're dressing well.
I'm glad you said that, actually, because I was just at a wedding and the groomsmen all showed up late the day of, and the poor bride was stressed out. So, very good point there.
Well, that's
Yeah,
probably because they didn't have a Grooms Club. So, Dustin,
Mhm.
yeah.
tell us why you created this website and how you're helping grooms and groomsmen.
Yeah, so the inspiration came from for the website came when post marriage I was hanging out with some other married friends at a bar, and we were all talking about our wedding experience and how we kind of felt on our own. Like, we were kind of navigating the process while the bride had all the support, and we kind of just realized at that time that we all felt like we were on a life raft by ourselves. And so the inspiration
Hmm.
came like, hey, can lean in here, really offer support for grooms that are going through the process, that ends up making the process and the wedding better for both the groom and the bride.
Oh,
Mhm.
this is so fun. It's so much more inclusive this way. And there's always new hot trends coming out for brides and bridesmaids. So, what about hot trends for grooms and groomsmen this year?
Yeah, I would say that we're really seeing grooms and groomsmen lean into like mix match suits,
Oh,
just not one color, sort of mixing browns or something like that.
mm,
Wow.
And then something that's a little unique is that we're really seeing like off-white and sandy toned,
wow.
tuxedos being worn by the groom. I personally wore a white tuxedo, off-white tuxedo in 2015. So I just consider that maybe I was way ahead of the trend there. Definitely had to, sort of get that one past my bride. Um, so I would say that those are a couple big things there. And then really we're seeing personalization kind of take off. Even if you're wearing something more, toned down, really accenting it with your personality, whether it's socks or a bow tie, there's great ways to lean into something that's really personalized.
Really personalized. Now, I know we kind of touched on this with the tank tops that Cheryl saw at the last wedding that she was at, and you're talking about the different ways to wear the different colors. So, are there any other etiquette and fashion do's and don'ts that male guests should be aware of?
Hmm.
Yeah, as a guest, luckily, the wedding party will often send you an invitation with the attire on it. So pay a lot of attention there. If you start and pay attention to that, you're already way ahead of a lot of people. If you have questions, reach out to the groom or some of the groomsmen to find out, like, hey, I don't really understand what, formal attire is. So I'd say that's really important for guests. I'd say it is a party, but you don't want to go overboard. Like, don't get too, intoxicated while you're there. And this happens even more often, in summer weddings where you're outside, it's hot, those drinks hit you a lot faster and go a lot quicker. And then, also be respectful during the ceremony. It's not your time to shine. You're there to observe. So if you're a guest, make sure you're there to, phones off, everything's taken care of.
Yes, I'm glad that you said that as well. And it's interesting because the groomsmen, you mentioned they have responsibilities. At this last wedding that I mentioned, the groomsmen, it seemed like after the ceremony, they were just, gone after the reception. And meanwhile, the bridesmaids and our husbands were helping clean up and pick up everything from the tables. And I'm going, where are the groomsmen? So any final tips or insights? Quincy's laughing for groomsmen, or anybody else's wedding season.
Yeah, that's a great one. I'm sorry that happened. And really, the groom should be informing the best man to delegate responsibility because he has a lot going on during the reception.
Yes.
He's going to be in charge of making sure that the bride is taken care of, interacting with lots of family members. So making sure that your best man is somebody that's going to be responsible and holding the other groomsmen accountable, I would say, is a really important tip there. And I would say also make sure, especially with the summer months coming up, you stay hydrated. We talked about how the drinking can get out of control. If you're a groomsman or a groom, it's easy to get distracted during the week leading up to it and not hydrate enough. If you hydrate pretty well, it's a little easier to do shots at the wedding and be in a good shape, because particularly if you're the groom, everybody that you've ever met will be like, hey, come do a shot with me. It's time to celebrate.
Listen to you. You have it down. You know how this works.
For sure. And at the end of the day, a wedding is a time to have fun. So enjoy it. Enjoy it because, it only happens a couple times if you're the groom, hopefully only once. And then, if you're a guest, you got those time periods in your life where you get to attend a lot of weddings. But once you get past your 20s and 30s, they happen less often. You're often taking, kids to it. So make sure you enjoy those weddings.
There you go, Dustin. Thank you so much. And we appreciate you stopping by. And it's pretty cool. You got the Grooms Club. That's your information right there on the screen. And keep making weddings fun for men.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love it.
Oh, awesome. Well, it is not a game, Cheryl. It is not a game, but neither is it when you are getting old. But it's a lot of fun. Stick around and see what I'm talking about up next.